Let's move on then, and let's move on to JK Cement. We have with us Anuj Khandelwal, the business head, Grey Cement division at JK Cement, who joins us on the show. The three big talking points that we'll be looking at in today's interview is that you have expansion that was announced in Rajasthan as well as Punjab, GST rationalization. What's the impact on cement, as well as how is cement pricing and demand shaping up? To answer all of that, we have Anuj with us. Hi, Anuj. Congratulations first. You know, JK Cement enjoys peak valuations, peak multiples, but earnings growth has been superb, volume growth has been superb, and now you're peppering the street with that 4,000 crore Capex plan that you've announced. Break it up for us. How much of this Capex plan will be via internal accruals, and what kind of debt will you be using to fund this?
So, Rajal, firstly, many thanks for having me on the show. Yes, we've announced an expansion in Rajasthan, where the integrated plant will be in the Jaisalmer sector, and there'll be two grinding units, one in Rajasthan and one in Punjab. Overall, the Capex will be around 4,800 crores. 65% will be funded through debt, while 35% will be funded through internal accruals.
Got it. All right. And what does this mean in terms of the debt trajectory? As of last year, I think you ended consolidated debt was around 3,200 crores for the entity. With this Capex plan, what is the peak level we're looking at in terms of Capex?
So overall, look, you are right. The net debt last year hovered around 3,000 odd crores. Our estimates are that once the peak debt will reach to around 5,500 crores as a net debt. Right now, the ratio which we look at more closely is the net debt to EBITDA, because it tells us our ability to service the debt. Last year, it was around, we closed at 1.3 times of EBITDA. Even June quarter was around that number. Our internal target is that even at the peak levels, we should not, be much beyond 2. So around 1.8 to 2.2 is the sensitivity which we kind of look at. So peak debt levels of 5,500 crores, but net debt to EBITDA of around 1.8 to 2.2.
Okay, all right, got that. Now, with this capacity expansion, you'll be at around 39 million tons, approximately, with what all you have announced. But you have to get to around 50 million tons. So for that additional 11 million tons, where are you going to be looking at? Currently, I think most of your capacity is in North India, and that seems to be the focus area. For the remaining 11 million tons, any kind of geographic target you're looking at? A couple of big assets, Anuj, which are available in South India as well. Why don't you go ahead and just buy one of them? 5-8 million tons will come easily.
Look, I really enjoyed this conversation. See, look, we've grown from 20 million 2 years back to now with a visibility of around 39 millions by, let's say, mid of 2027. So that's a very, very steep kind of a journey. And, it's not just enough to put up plants. It's also important to monetize it. And our track record is good, but we want to maintain it. To your second question on where do we see the path from 39 to 50 million, there are many possibilities. One, we are looking at the South cluster, where we have a plant at North Karnataka, Muddapur. There in that cluster, we want to aim at around 5-6 million tons post the Jaisalmer expansion. And after that, we can again circle back to central India and try to put up another line. So, combination of that would get us to 50 million. But as I've always reiterated in my earlier conversations, we try to balance the need for growth and financial prudence. So as the things progress, we'll be announcing basis our financial situation.
All right, Anuj, for this particular capacity that you have announced of around 4,800 crores, a couple of brokerages have written, like, JM Financial, they are talking about a 10-year capital subsidy that you'll be entitled to. What is that amount over the next 10 years that you'll be entitled to? As per their estimates, it's around 1,000 crores. Would that be fair?
Look, I can't divulge the exact numbers, but just if I can give a breakdown, basically, any of the capital investments across the country, basically there are two types of subsidies. One is the capital subsidies, which you generally utilize for large investments. For example, in this case, Jaisalmer plant. And there is a SGST reimbursement incentive, which you generally utilize for relatively smaller investment, which is our 2 GUs in Rajasthan and Punjab. So capital subsidy, look, is a percentage of the effective capital, investment, and it really depends on how much you are investing in and what area you are investing in. So there's a standard package by government of government of Rajasthan. I can't divulge the exact numbers as to how much will it yield to because it's confidential, but suffice to say that combination of all the incentives can bolster our IRR by a couple of percentage points.
Okay, Anuj, what I was getting at is there any risk to this particular incentive? I asked this because everyone is celebrating that we're going to see some rationalization of GST rates. Now, as you said, SGST will be some part of that goes to the state as well. So effectively, if the GST comes down from 28% to 18%, then instead of 14%, the state will be getting 9%. Just, going by this example. In that case, does it put some kind of risk to the incentive you'll receive, the kind of leeway you'll get? Tell us your understanding, because everyone's celebrating the good part, but could this be a risk?
So we are also celebrating it because, look, GST rationalization has driven a lot of positive sentiment and it'll finally lead to a lower cost of consumption for our customers. In terms of risk, as far as the GST policy goes, look, on places where you have a capital subsidy, it really doesn't matter how much GST are you paying to the government, whether it's at 28% rate or 18%. It's basically a fixed amount of money which you get over a period of time, right? So it is not really dependent on GST rates being 28 or 18%. Places where, yes, there's a SGST reimbursement, what would happen is, theoretically speaking, if the rates come down from 28 to 18%, and of course we need to see the fine print, etc., basically the per ton incentive will reduce. But in most of the packages, there is an annual ceiling. So rather than meeting the annual ceiling, let's say by December or January, you might start hitting it by March, or might forego a little bit. So it's not a huge impact at any stretch of imagination per se to the subsidy income which can come to the companies.
All right. So you don't see this as a big risk. You rather celebrate the fact that the cost of constructing a house goes down. And in that case, it could help volumes and help demand on ground as well. Would that be the way to look at it?
Sentimentally, yes, but
it's inelastic. Cement is inelastic,
yes,
and
exactly.
as a cost of making a house, I'm reading a note today, it is just around 1%, less than that as well. So it's a more sentimental positive. Is that correct?
It's a sentimental positive. Can help infrastructure sectors a bit more, but on the housing sectors, just look, if a person has decided to make a house, he will make a house. Not really, a little bit of GST rationalization on cement will not change the decision that much. But yes, from an infrastructure projects perspective, it can lead to a significant cost reduction. So overall, I understand that cement is slightly inelastic, but sentimentally is a good positive for us.
All right, and if you could tell us about incentives on an annual basis, what is the rough incentive that you receive, if you have that number handy, as a company, JK Cement?
So look, I don't want to get into specifics. I think it's a good number, but I don't want to get into specifics.
All right. The short point is just saying there's no risk to the capital subsidy that you get as well. As you're saying, it's assured by the state government. Got that. Good to see volume growth. You outpaced the industry. 15% grey cement volume growth came out of nowhere. And from there on itself, the stock has started its big rally. What's the view for the year? What kind of volume number do you end this year with? And you'll definitely be gaining market share because, the industry grew at around 7% at best. Your volumes grew at 15%. So target for this year.
Yes, Q1 was good. Industry, I guess, grew by 5-6% and we grew by 15%. But look, a lot of our growth came in central India where our capacities are still new. So we were able to gain a lot of market share in central India. In North India, the growth wasn't that much, but the new expansions will solve for it. Overall, the full year picture which we are looking at, we are really targeting the magical number of 20 million tons of sales this year, which will be around 13% odd growth versus the last year. This is with the assumption that the industry will grow by, let's say, 6-7%.
Okay, all right. Final question then, with regard to your cost saving measures, you all have been guiding for, I think, 150 to 200 rupees, cost saving. For this year, how much of that will be achieved? So
I think we'll easily achieve half of it. Quite a bit of it is already, I think, in the pocket. Around 50 odd rupees, I would say, would already have been realized. Maybe 30-40 rupees more. We have many initiatives coming up in the later part of the year, whether it is on renewable power, on AFR, and the likes. Even in the medium term, we have other cost-saving initiatives also lined up.
Okay.
In my previous interview, I also said we have secured a coal mine in Madhya Pradesh, which will get, let's say, operational in 2.5, 3 years' time. And when that happens, the cost of coal will reduce for us for our central plants, where we are becoming much more prominent. So cost saving is a perennial journey, but we are tracking well, and we are on the target to achieve the numbers committed.
All right, Anuj, good speaking to you. Thanks a lot for joining in. You're quite gung-ho about this new capacity expansion. As you said, there is a capital subsidy. There's a bit of a cushion with regard to the state GST as well. And for the year, you're looking at around 20 million tons in terms of capacity. Thanks a lot for joining in. Wishing you and the team all the best in the time to come.